G'day champions, I'm Jax, this is J&D Creations, and today I'm here with another Aussie tool review for you. Maybe I should get an Aussie tool review shirt made up, eh? I think that's a bloody good idea. Next time I do a tool review, I'll have an Aussie tool review shirt. But enough of that, let's get into why you're here today. Just gotta roll the intro first. So this is the Shepatch CS55. I'm still not even sure if I'm saying that right. So we might move forward affectionately calling it Schweppes. So this is a kit that I picked up from the Hare and Forbes store here in Perth. And if you were to buy this kit right now, it would cost you $2.99 including GST, and this is what you would get. When I got my kit, however, this is what I got. So I got an extra 1.4 meter track and a crosscut blade that has 48 teeth, which, might I add, has been incredibly invaluable, and I have used it an absolute ton of times. The blade that comes with the saw is pretty damn good. So this little saw packs in a 1.6 horsepower motor and has a maximum cut depth of 55mm at 90 degrees. You've got full adjustability, allowing you to tilt all the way over to 45-degree cuts. Just keep in mind that this obviously will reduce the depth of cut possible. You've also got a depth of cut gauge right here on the front that you can adjust to ensure that your cut does not protrude down deeper than you'd like. Now, I've never used a Festool track saw, but I'm going to assume straight out of the gate that this here probably doesn't quite compare. All of your locking knobs and gauges are all plastic, which certainly does add to the feeling of this being a cheap saw. But when you look at the package I got, that included two 1.4 meter tracks, two blades, anti-tip locks, and track bumpers for $331, kinda can't argue with that. Like, I don't even think that really registers as a percentage of what a Festool track saw costs. Maybe it's 1%, I don't know. That stuff's expensive, and for a simple hobbyist like myself, I just cannot justify that cost. Having the 2.8 meters of track included in this package allows me to break down full sheets of plywood and just about do any other size cut that I want straight out of the gate. An additional Festool track alone would probably be more than my weekly paycheck. So I think it's important to just keep that in mind. If you are a hobbyist or a small-time maker such as myself, then yes, if you can afford that top-of-the-line gear, definitely go for that, because you will get longevity with that quality. But if you can't afford it, that's okay. There are other tools out there that will get the job done. And so far, this little beast has not let me down. One thing I have found handy with this kit is the anti-flip attachment that comes with it, and the bumper for the end of the track so that you don't go off the track with the saw. The standard kit that you can purchase through the link below, it's not an affiliate link, so don't stress, also includes this joiner. So if you do want to purchase additional tracks, you don't have to worry about buying this piece as well. This just slots straight into your track and gets tightened down with some flathead screws, locking it in place. You then attach your secondary track on this side and tighten the bar down, which ensures that your two tracks align perfectly. To be completely honest with you, I am yet to use this, as I haven't cut down a piece that needed the 2.8 meters that I've got. Buying the kit that I got was all about future-proofing this tool for me and allowing me to make sure that there was no cut in the future that I needed to do that I couldn't handle. So once you insert this bar, a flathead screwdriver will allow you to lock down those set screws, and that's not going anywhere. On top of that, I actually store that just there. It doesn't interfere with any operations, and it makes sure that I'll never lose it. Now, when you first pick up your kit, your track will have this piece of rubber along the edge. Now that is going to protrude out further than where the saw blade aligns with your track. And this is so that your first cut on this track will ensure that that rubber guard lines up perfectly with the blade, because this works as a chip deflector and also as a way to reduce tear out. Now on the rear of these tracks, you'll see that there are two strips of rubber down here, and these produce a non-slip function so that you can put your track straight down on a piece of plywood, cut straight through it, and the track won't move. But for some added security, you do also have some clamps that come with it that allow you to secure the track down to whatever you're working on if you'd prefer. So there are a couple of factors that I do really like about this saw. To begin with, the full enclosure around the blade allows for excellent dust collection capability. On the Heron Forbes website, they claim this to be a 90% collection rate. The second thing that I really like about this design is how far it is from the edge of the blade to the edge of this housing. You've got 15.5 millimeters between the edge of this housing and the edge of the blade, which is nothing. That's extremely close. The sleek design of this dust extraction port is also awesome in comparison to a lot of other saws out there on the market. A lot of other saw designs have this port poking out, which increases the distance between the edge of the blade and the edge of the saw. Now, you might not think that's very important, and if you're only breaking down plywood with this tool, then you'd be right. But when you consider your ability to use this saw for house restorations, inside, up against a wall, the distance from the edge to the edge of the blade becomes very important. And from what I could find, this saw was the one that allowed you to get closest to a wall. I thought that was a pretty cool benefit. Now, you've got your safety lock at the top of the saw here, which is very comfortable and easy to operate with your thumb. Your pointer finger can then activate the on trigger. It's a very solid steel locking mechanism, as you can see here. Both this knob and this knob are what lock the saw into position when you're setting the angle. So by loosening both of those off, you can tilt to the desired angle and then secure both of them down, and your saw's locked in place. It's with angled cuts like these that the anti-flip bracket really comes in handy. Now, I have found that the depth of cut gauge can be a little bit finicky to operate. It does get a bit stuck in some locations, but if you use the movement of pulling it out and then up or down, it really seems to help. Again, it's really easy to set. You go to your desired depth of cut, lock down this knob here, and you're unable to protrude past that point. Now, the blade that comes standard on this saw is a 24 tooth blade that they claim is a fine cut blade. Personally, I have not had any problems with any tear out or chipping, and that's why I haven't cracked open my 48 tooth cross cut blade yet, because I just haven't needed it. I find the sliding action on the guides to be really good. These blue strips down the guide are an anti-friction material that really assists with the sliding capabilities. If you did have any resistance though, I'm sure you could add a bit of paste wax to them and that would solve your problem. Now, when it comes to the rubber grips on the bottom, I'm not lying when I say they do hold really well. As you can see, they don't move. You just need to make sure you're applying downward pressure, which the weight of the saw generally does for you. Now, the base of the saw has these two fine adjustment knobs just here on either end. Now, these are on a cam system and they allow super fine adjustment for the section where the rail rides in the saw that allows this whole thing to work properly. So if you don't know how a track saw works, the base of the saw has this cutout section here, and the track has this raised section that fits in that cutout section. Those two line up just like that, and that's what allows the movement of a nice straight cut. And as you can see there, the anti-friction works great. The 55mm depth of cut on this saw is absolutely awesome, and it's also fitted standard with a writhing knife, which allows for added safety. So I did get a comment in my last tool review requesting the decibel level of that tool. So I thought I'd beat you to the punch and tell you the decibel levels of this saw before I get asked the question. But given that the YouTube algorithm loves questions, make sure if you've got any, you fire them away down in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them for you. So from about a meter away, you're looking at around about 98 decibels. Right up on the saw, you're sitting at about 111 decibels. So make sure you use hearing protection and all the other safety stuff as well. Eye protection and, you know, face mask and all of it. So look, for an entry-level track saw, I think this is absolutely fantastic. Now don't get me wrong, a circular saw and a straight edge guide or a nice straight piece of timber will do the same job. But having the plunging ability in itself is absolutely awesome, and having a good quality track that grips the piece and doesn't necessarily have to be clamped comes in really handy. And when you're talking about $300 for a woodworking tool, I think we can all agree that that is quite cheap. Now for some of the boring stuff that I know at least one of you is gonna wanna know. We've got a 2.4mm blade with a 20mm bore, 5500 RPM and a 55mm cut depth. 41mm when you're at 45 degrees, and 50.5mm with the guide rail. A cutting angle range of 0 to 45 degrees, the ability to cut 15.5mm away from a wall, a 38mm dust collection port and a 240 volt motor, and the net weight is around 9.5 kilograms. That should cover everything you guys need to know about the CS55 from Hare & Forbes. This saw gets the J&D tick of approval purely because of how good it is for an entry-level saw and an awesome price. As I said before, $299 in the woodworking world is cheap. Super cheap. I'm getting beautiful cuts out of this machine, and I haven't even switched over to the 48 tooth blade yet. It's super simple to set up and easy to use. Blade changes are fairly simple, so I've read, because I haven't changed the blade yet. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. With the only con, in my opinion, being that some of the gauges and knobs are made of plastic, but they still function quite fine. Now, the kit I got, I picked up for $330, and that was while they were having a sale, but without the extra blade and the extra 1.4 meter track, you can pick up everything else that I've showed you today for $299, including GST. So if you need a cheap track saw that I am so far finding very reliable, then this Schweppes saw could be for you. Shepatch saw. Thanks for checking out this review, legends. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed already, click this button right here and ring this little bell icon. That'll just let YouTube let you know when I put out my next video. If there's anything in my shop that you would like specifically reviewed, make sure you leave a comment down below, tell me what it is, and I'll get that sorted for you. You can also click on this playlist just up here to check out the tools that I have already reviewed. Until next time, stay safe, look after yourself, and I will see you soon.